Salon people and then party them. Sisay-Jalloh Media will be bringing you a variety of programs ranging from documentaries to discussions, interviews, news, views, sports and entertainment. Our programs will contain matters on development, governance, the economy and issues that are of importance to Sierra Leone. So, no left BNO because we get Bebe program then like Salon discussion, meets the ministers, the president's hour and the Gladi program, Look Me, I Look You. All this they start soon na www.sisay-jalloh.org. Now who's tem these?
As we talk about burning issues ranging from politics to the economy, culture to sport, education to entertainment, corruption to the environment, we realize the Sierra Leone story is far from finished. So, Sisay-Jalloh Media Production brings you Zooming In. Zooming In is the program that engages everyday people, entrepreneurs, inventors, entertainers, activists, policymakers and politicians to discuss and debate issues relating to Sierra Leone. Zooming In digs deep into the issues and stories. Zooming In ensures the debate is pushed to another level. Zooming In asks those questions that has never been asked before. So, join us, Chumaba.
When I was young, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences seen now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we do now?
Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abuse little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape, sexual abuse, or pedophilia, is a killer to human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence.
Speak now.
The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
I think death sentence should be the consequence of such terrible act.
And you mothers, build confidence in your children, put trust in them, listen to them when they make reports, and take necessary actions.
Talking of mothers before now, women were virtuous.
They were mothers, daughters, and sisters.
Nurturing, counseling, supporting their men folks.
But now, women are trafficking female children for money. Women are forced to be silenced.
All this must stop, and it must stop now.
Real men do not abuse, rape, or molest women and children. It is barbaric, unacceptable. Let all real men stand with us.
Together, let's say an emphatic no to rape, sexual abuse, pedophilia, and domestic violence.
Of all the crimes committed against a person, rape is the one that leaves a person feeling very violated. A rape victim is often left with the feeling that a part of them has been torn apart.
To use another person's body and ignore the souls that resides within. is one of the most outstandingly shocking crimes that one person can commit against another.
Some men harass and rape their women.
Some men sexually abuse underage girls.
Some men beat and kill their wives.
Any form of sexual assault is unacceptable.
There must be consent before you act.
Being in a relationship is not consent.
If they are not sober, they can't consent.
Flirting is not a consent.
We had sex before is not consent.
Silence is not consent.
Only an informed, sober, freely given, ongoing and enthusiastic yes is consent.
Women should stop dying in silence.
A man does not become a real man by physically dominating a woman. A man becomes a real man by loving, protecting and respecting the woman.
Real men do not rape or abuse women and children.
Let all real men stand with us. And together, let's say no to child abuse, no to domestic violence, no to all forms of rape, being it spousal rape, intimate partner rape, child sex abuse, statutory rape, date rape, serial rape, and gang rape.
We must rise up against this ugly trend.
Justice for one, justice for all.
All sexual assault must stop, and it must stop now.
Hello, my name is Josephine Kamara. I'm the founder of You Can Do It Foundation. You Can Do It Foundation is a charitable organization based in Sierra Leone, West Africa. You Can Do It Foundation has been in existence for the past 2 years. We have been fighting gender-based violence against women and girls within the community. During the past 2 years, we have been offering psychosocial support, counseling, court fee, medical fee, including school items to the survivors of gender-based violence. However, during the lockdown of COVID-19, report received and confirmed that rape cases among a minor has increased tremendously within our community. Because of this, You Can Do It Foundation has secured the land to build an accommodation for the survivors of rape. However, this may almost become impossible without your generous support. We need your help to build this home for the survivors. Your help could be in cash or in kind. If you wish to join us to make a difference in a child's life, please go to our website, which is www.youcandoitcyf.org, or you can go to our GoFundMe page, which is Home of Hope for the survivors of gender-based. Or you can contact us with the details at the end of this video. We thank you greatly for your generous support, and thank you once more for making a difference in a child's life.
I was raped multiple times by my aunt's boyfriend when I was 6.
I was repeatedly raped at the age of 8 by a close family member.
I was raped at 19. I didn't speak openly about it because I was ashamed and afraid that people would judge me.
I was raped at age 5 by my caregiver's husband.
On June 17th, 2020, 5-year-old Khadija Sakho, a beautiful little girl from Freetown, Sierra Leone, was repeatedly raped and strangled to death, allegedly by her own cousin. Her death shocked the nation. But in truth, in this small West African country, 9 out of 10 girls experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. Think about that for a second. 9 out of 10. That's 90%. My name is Aisha Sisay. I'm a journalist and activist. I'm joining forces with Idris Elba and other activists from across Sierra Leone to support the survivors of sexual violence with the Survivors Solidarity Fund. Please consider donating whatever you can afford. All monies raised will go to 4 local organizations currently providing free medical and legal services to survivors. 5-year-old Khadija lost her life to sexual violence. That same threat remains for millions of others. So this is also a call for you to use your voice, your power, to draw attention to an enduring culture of rape. Together, we must end it now. My name is Aisha Sisay. I am Khadija Sako.
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 We are Khadija Sako.
We are all Khadija Sako.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Isatta Sisay-Jalloh of the Health Show live on Sierra Gem Media. Today is Thursday, the 4th of February, 2021, and it is World Cancer Day. Today is a day where we make a lot of noise about cancer, and the theme for this year is I Am and I Will. I am a cancer specialist nurse, and I will advocate, educate, and promote and raise awareness about cancer, early detection, which can save lives, and also supporting people who are already going through cancer, and also helping survivors to support people who are going through cancer. It is very important, I think, for us all to come together to support one another at challenging times when it comes to cancer diagnosis. And what is cancer? People want to know, what is this cancer? Why is it such a word when it is called next to somebody, or it's called to someone? They feel so upset, so distressed. Sometimes they even think it's a death sentence. Well, cancer is a condition. It's a condition where cells in specific parts of the body grow and reproduce uncontrollably. So basically, the natural system of control that the body has in place that tells the cells when to multiply, when to stop multiplying, goes wrong. It becomes faulty. And so cell death doesn't occur, because with every cell has its cycle, its lifeline. If a cell, for example, the cells of your hair, the hair follicle, if they're supposed to multiply only 5 cycles, after that 5 cycles, they should die, and then new ones will come, and so on and so forth. But if the mechanism goes wrong, just like you have a traffic light system that goes wrong, then it actually alters that process. And that's where we get into trouble. And of course, when they do multiply and multiply, they double in size within the area where they are. And so that is what we consider cancer. It is also sometimes referred to as a tumor or a mass, depending on the specialist or professional you're talking to. What are some of the signs and warning signs or symptoms that you should be looking out for to possibly think, I need to investigate this further? Well, in general, you should be looking at things like any change in your bowel or bladder habits. For example, if you were somebody who you went to the toilet to open your bowels one every other day or daily, then all of a sudden that pattern changes, not for just few days, but for many, many days and sometimes weeks, then you should pay attention to that. It does not necessarily mean it is cancer, because there's lots and lots of other diseases that can give similar symptoms and warning signs that you get for cancer. However, it is always important, like I always emphasize and stress on this program, the most important thing you can do for yourself is knowing your body, understanding how your body works, how it functions, what's normal for you, so that when that changes, you definitely know something is not right here. Because we're all individualized, not even identical twins go through the same processes and issues when it comes to how their body works. There'll always be some indifferences. So it's very important to keep an eye out on that. The same goes for your bladder habits. If you're someone who used to pass urine regularly, all of a sudden you don't, or you find out that every half an hour you're needing to go to the toilet to pass urine, or when you go to the toilet, you do pass urine, but then a few minutes later, you still feel like you want to pass urine because you've got that urge, because you feel you haven't really emptied your bladder properly, then it's very important for you to take note of that and seek professional advice. And also, a sore that does not heal. If you have a sore that does not heal, it's also important to check that, and see what's going on. Unusual bleeding or discharge, thickening or lump in the breast or elsewhere, anywhere, whether it's not just your breast that you can feel lumps. You can feel lumps in other parts of your body. So any of those unusual stuff is very, very important. You think about them. And of course, unusual bleeding and discharge. Today, I've got a guest. The guest that I have, that is what we're going to focus on. The type of cancer she has experienced has a lot to do with bleeding. So we will be elaborating a lot more on that. And then the other signs or symptoms you should be looking for is a thickening or a lump in your breast, like I said earlier on, or somewhere else, or indigestion or difficulty in swallowing, where you're constantly having indigestion problems. And sometimes initially you think maybe it's just reflux and so on and so forth, or gastritis, but sometimes it gets worse and it doesn't get better. But also you start feeling like swallowing is becoming an issue, not just for water, but lumpy food and so on and so forth. You need to think about that. You also need to think about if you have a mole or a wart that has changed in size. If I can turn my head to this side, I have got a mole here. But this mole, I have had it since childhood, and it's not changed at all. So I'm never worried about it, but I still keep an eye on it, if you can see it. I still keep an eye on it, and then every time I meet or come into contact with a GP that doesn't know me, that's the first thing. As soon as I see that, it kind of alarms them, and I have to say to them, no, I've had it since I was old enough to know who I am, and that was roughly maybe around 8 years or so, and I've noticed this mole here, and it's never changed in size. I mean, as I grow, it grows, but it's never really changed, obviously, in size. And then the other thing you should also look out for is coughing. If there's this cough, you can say it's a nagging cough or a persistent cough, or sometimes even a dry cough, or a hoarseness in your voice where your voice changes, the sound of your voice changes, and it kind of feels like you're whispering. These are all signs and symptoms that could lead to a cancer diagnosis. But hey, as we all know, at the moment, what's one of the signs of our dear unwanted friend that we have in our world right now, the coronavirus 19. It's persistent coughing. Persistent coughing is one of the signs and symptoms of a positive virus in anyone. So again, like I said, it's about knowing your body, understanding what is right for you and what is wrong and what you can do about it. Now, of course, when you notice some of these signs, it's best to go to your doctor, your healthcare professional, your general practitioner, or your physician, depending on where you live, what part of the world you live. And when you go, you seek more advice, you tell them exactly what you've been going through, and then they'll be able to send you for further tests and investigations that might not necessarily, like I said, lead to a cancer diagnosis. But if it does, then there is most likely going to be further investigations, referral to specialist oncology consultants, doctors, and nurses who can then look after you and support you through your journey. And that journey is what we're going to talk about today. A journey that a young lady, South African lady, has gone through very, very recently, but has been brave enough as an African to share her story with us through a book called Afraid. The book recently came out. I only got mine delivered on Monday, and I've literally gone through it. I kind of have one more chapter to go. Very, very easy to read. The message is straightforward, direct, and that is what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about why she wrote this book, her journey of cancer, just so we can try and help those who are fighting cancer. We give you hope, faith, and a positive mindset whilst you're going through it, because it's very, very important. The book has been interesting. I think I'm going to read it again and again, because I think it's not just about cancer. It teaches you how you can go as low as possible when you're faced with any difficult challenge, but also how you can pick yourself up when you need to and you have to, or when you're pushed to the wall, basically. So, ladies and gentlemen, with no further talking, I give you our author and survivor, Miss Ntombi Shibambo.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Isatta, for a lovely introduction. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ntombi Shibambo. I am from the south of Africa, and I am here to share my experience with you and hopefully help those who are feeling low and hopeless and challenged in life, not only with cancer, but other different challenges in their life. And I also hope that we will finish this this life today with something for you to take home and think about and perhaps improve. So thank you so much for joining. And today we are going to end this without being afraid.
Good, fantastic. Well done. I like that. We're going to end today without being afraid. Very important. And that's the title of the book, Afraid. Yes, she was afraid at first, but now she's telling you she wants to give you that information. She wants to provide you with that tool and resources so that you can then find yourself in a position where you're no longer afraid. So that is what we're going to try and do today. So, Ntombi, can you tell us a little bit about your background, please?
Yes, I was born and raised in South Africa, Northern Province, Limpopo, and I came into this country when I was 15 years old. That was back in 2002, so you can guess my age. And I've been here, I've faced many challenges, like many of us, and the biggest challenge I have had to face than any of them was cancer. And today I am here to share it. But while I was going through this challenge or this battle or this journey, I was not a person that shared it with close friends because I'm one of those people who, like many of us, when I go through challenges in life, I don't tend to share with other people. And this is because of the kind of person I am. I don't like to feel like I'm a burden to others. Not only that, I don't want to trouble anybody else. I like to go through my problems, so to speak, by myself. And this is what's one of them. That was number one. Number two, cancer is looked at with our generation, and I'm going to say us because we are all African. Whichever part of Africa we're from, we are all African. And as Africans, we look at cancer as a different thing. Like there's so many illnesses, not only cancer, but there's so many illnesses that we frown upon. And if we see someone with cancer, we look at it as if like, I know that, I'm mumbling a lot, but what I'm trying to say to you is, us as Africans, when someone is ill with any other illnesses that we may consider as deadly or a life sentence, we look at it as a curse. We look at it as something that's frowned upon, but this can happen to anybody and at any age, of any background. It's not only older generation, it's not only another ethnicity, it can happen to us. And most of us Africans feel like maybe it will not happen to us. It's something that we see on TV, or it's something that we see as an advert. Yes, it can happen to any of us, and it can happen at any age, at any time. Like you explained, it's cells, and all of us have got cells in our body, and it can those cells can fracture at any part of our body. Unfortunately for me, I had cervical cancer, stage 2. Now, when I first found out, I was stage 1. And then within a couple of months, and those couple of months, it ended up being stage 2B, meaning I was slowly getting to stage 3. And then after 4, we both know that's death. So there's one thing I can... if there's one thing that I can explain is that cancer doesn't only eat you in your body, but in your mind. So within being stage 1 and stage 2 within 2 months, it was not because it was so fast. It was only because it played in my mind so much so, it stressed me so much, and stress is a main cause of many diseases. And we often look at other things that we may be eating, which is very true. What we eat as well has got effect on our body. So we should eat healthy. But stress is another big issue that we have, and it can cause a lot of illnesses, not only cancer, but so many illnesses in our lives. Yes, the cells do fracture, and it does cause the tumor, and then it doubles up and then leads to death. And cancer is something that's looked upon as something that leads to death. But I'm here to say to you that you can survive just like I have.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ntombi. That is that summarizes it all, and I think that gives our viewers an overview of what we want to talk about and what we're going to talk about. Now, for those who don't know, for the benefit of our viewers, I'll just recap in terms of what's cervical cancer. So cervical cancer is cancer of the cervix. Now, what is the cervix? Men don't have a cervix, by the way. So this is all to do with women. So the cervix is the opening of the womb from the vagina. So basically, sometimes they also call it the neck of the womb. This is the passage that, that through this passage, you get your monthly menstrual cycle. Through this passage, when you have sexual intimacy, you get, that's how you get impregnated as well. So it's a very, very important passage, a very important part of the reproductive system of a woman. And when it goes wrong, and it can be very life-threatening, especially when it comes to cancer. Now, one of the things I always bang on about on this program is screening. For some cancers, there are screening programs, and these screening programs, for us who are lucky enough to be in the diaspora, they are national screening programs. So you're actually being chased to have your screen. And cervical cancer is one of those cancers that benefits from such screening program. And it's called cervical screening, but in general terms, you would hear people say your smear test. In North America, they call it pap smear. That's how they refer to it. So that is a test that is very important for you to understand or to keep an eye on this type of, this part of your body, especially your reproductive system, one that is hidden, one where things can be going wrong and you will not realize it's going wrong because of where it is and because of all the other things that are going on through that area. For example, like I said earlier on, your menstrual cycle. You bleed every month. As long as you're within a childbearing age, you would bleed every month, except if you've got any other health issues. So we're talking about Ntombi today, her experience, but we're also talking about the book she's written. And I've read this book, and I'm going to pick on phrases or sentences in this book that I've highlighted so that we can have a conversation and explore how she was feeling at that time and why she was feeling that way. So Ntombi, you said to us that on the first page, in your prologue of this book, you actually wrote it in bold and in caps as well. You said, "What could be wrong with me? I can't stop bleeding." Now, obviously, you're in your 30s, and you are still of childbearing age, and so you were still ovulating, and so you were having your monthly menstrual cycle. What was different that made you say to yourself, what was different from your norm that made you say, what could be wrong with me? I can't stop bleeding. What's wrong?
So I usually have 4 days on my menstrual cycle. And this time around, it was going on even longer. Now, at the beginning, I thought, okay, sometimes it might be irregular, and it happens to most of us. And I did go to my doctor, and I told her that my menstrual cycle was a bit irregular. And then she didn't take it so seriously, which was quite, it was a bit confusing to me, because cancer was the last thing in my mind. And I think that was the same thing to her. But at that point, I didn't think much of it. She didn't either. But the more it continued, every month, it was longer than usual. It was heavier than usual. And I knew straight away, because as you said, Isatta, we all know our body. And when it starts acting out of regular or out of the usual, we start realizing that something is wrong. And so that was my position at that point. It was longer than usual, and it was heavier than usual.
Okay. So, of course, you went to your GP, like you said. It didn't cross your GP's mind that, oh, straight away, this is cancer. And again, this is very important. It's very important to take note of that, because I think sometimes it's quick for us to blame the GP and say, oh, well, I was going to that GP so many times and they missed it. They don't know their job, and so on and so forth. But like I said earlier on, there could be so many reasons why someone will be having an irregular bleed. And one of them is menopause. When you're perimenopausal or you're premenopausal, for some people, they start irregular bleeding. Now, irrespective of Ntombi's age, yes, some people do hit menopause very early. I know of people who hit menopause at the age of 25. Now, they're very rare, but they do. Now, with cervical cancer, that is one of its telltale signs. bleeding, bleeding, bleeding. Bleeding becomes so heavy and sometimes it doesn't stop. But again, like we did and spoke about 2 weeks ago on this program, we talked about fibroids. Fibroids, again, are cells that cluster together that you find in the lining of the uterus that can also cause heavy bleeding. So you see where sometimes these symptoms from that are presented, that could be for different diseases. So it's very important to persevere, to be persistent, and check and keep going back, which is what Ntombi did. So Ntombi, you kept going back. What then made, as you refer to the doctor in your book as Dr. One, what then dropped the penny for Dr. One to say, I need to send you for some more tests?
I kept going back. I kept telling my doctor something is not right. I am not my usual self. And I know as we grow older, our bodies change, or when we change our diet or anything like that, our bodies change. But I knew for sure something is not right. We all have this, God gave us this intuition where we know, like, before you have a simple cold, you will wake up in the morning and feel, no, something is not right. That same intuition was with the time my menstrual cycle was going on, and I kept going back that something is not right, and perhaps, I need to my head was a scan or something. I didn't think anything major of it. That's when the doctor decided, yes, appointment to Dr. B.
Okay, to Dr. B, and you got, how quick was that? Was that done within the 2-week rule? Because I know with cancer, the national strategy is if there's any suspected sign of symptoms, you need to be referred to a specialist within 2 weeks, and treatment should be decided or planned within 6 weeks. So was that the pathway they chose?
Yes, that is exactly the pathway they chose. I was referred to the gynecologist within 8-10 days. And then I went to the hospital. That's when they took the biopsies.
Okay.
And they give you the option for you to come back for the biopsies, or they can take it straight away at that appointment. But for me, I just wanted to know what is really going on. And so I allowed them to take the biopsies straight away. And fortunately enough, they were able to come up with the results within the next 3 weeks. And that's when they called me back and to tell me the unfortunate news.
Okay. So going back to the test that were done, just for our viewers, the biopsy, is it similar to a smear test? Did it look like the same process?
It's the same process, but this is the time where they take some cells in your cervix. So it might be, the reason they give you the option to come back is so that you can go under anesthetic, because some people might not be able to bear the pain. To be honest, I've been there. It's not that painful, but obviously you have to follow certain regulations, and it's like a pinch, a bit of a pinch snippet where they just put some cells to evaluate if they are normal or abnormal. And at this point, I could not wait any longer than I have. So I just allowed them to go ahead. But you do have the option to come back, and they put you under anesthetic, and then they take the biopsies. At that point, I just allowed them to proceed, and that's when they took the biopsies.
Okay. And how long did you have to wait for this, for the bad news? How long?
About a week, coming up to 2 weeks, I was invited back into the hospital to be told the news.
And that's when you walked miles and miles away. Was it after that news that you walked, you just couldn't get yourself into a bus or a train? You just kept walking, you kept walking and walking.
It's that day. I could not even feel the grounds that I'm walking on. I was just I don't know. I've never been in a place in my life where I don't know what was happening mentally, physically. I could not make sense of how I got here, you know. At some point, I felt maybe, you know, it's somewhere, somehow, I've done something wrong to someone, and this is a way of, I don't know, I still can't explain how I felt. Yeah. So it was difficult to accept the news. The most difficult thing is to accept that that's what's been told. I've got cancer. This is it.
And you thought it couldn't be you, isn't it? It's not something that could happen to you, because from your book, it sounds like you're somebody who is very well organized. You're pragmatic. You're proactive. Always one step ahead. Kind of in control of your surrounding, and you have a plan. You plan things, and then all of a sudden, this word cancer comes into the mix, and you weren't expecting it. Like I always say to people, the unwanted visitor, the visitor that you don't want to open your door to and welcome at all within your household, and the household being your body. And it left you shattered for days. But I'm going to take you back now to once you've you're trying to process this news, and you're trying to see how best you can deal with it. The distraction, of course, in your book, you actually even left your cooker on, and your apartment nearly burnt down because you left your cooker on. There was a pot on the fire. You'd cooked a meal for your daughter, and you'd gone to pick her up, which was part of your normal routine. But what you hadn't done that day, you forgot to turn off the cooker. You thought you have, because you were so distracted. And one of the things, according to your book, that was one of the thoughts that was going on in your mind was the fact that you said, if I can go back in time and change some things, I would definitely change the way you think about smear tests. You will definitely take it seriously. Now, for our viewers, earlier on, I spoke about screening for cervical cancer, and the smear test is what they do to screen for cervical cancer. So tell us what was going on before your diagnosis. Why did you say you would take your smear test very seriously? Were you not going for your smear test at all?
Right. Now, I have to be totally transparent with you. And yes, I was not. One, because I felt good in myself. Before the long-term before the long-term bleeding, I felt good in myself. I was fine. I was okay. You know, there's some things that happen in our body internally that when we don't see it externally, when we don't see it outside, if we don't feel our arm hurting or our headache, we think we are okay. And I was exactly like that. I felt like I'm okay because there's no way in my body that's hurting. You know, I had no pain at all. So smear test or like right now, for example, coronavirus is here and there's vaccinations. Now, I'm not going to say go for the vaccination, and I'm not going to say don't go for the vaccination. But all I'm going to say is there is things that happen in our body sometimes that when we don't see it, we don't feel like there's nothing wrong. And I was one of those people because there was nothing happening outside. And so I didn't feel like there's a need for me to do a smear test. There's no need for me to do a pap smear. Not only that, where I come from, we had no education about this. There's not one of my aunties or sisters or anybody telling me about smear test or pap smear. So I was not familiar with these. And so I didn't take them serious, if I'm to be transparent with you. I wish I had that knowledge. I wish someone said this message to me, and me sitting on the other side of the phone, for me to pick up the phone the next day and say, let me go for that check, because it would have saved me this whole journey. It would have saved me chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and brachytherapy. If I knew, then I would have ran straight in there, and then I would have got it done.
Okay, and it would have saved you from that feeling of wanting to be woken up from a dream, that feeling that you had for many, many months. If we can go back, when were you diagnosed? Were you diagnosed in 2019 or 2020?
2019, September 2019.
Wow, as we were slowly crawling into the COVID pandemic, right?
Yes.
And then you started your treatment around about February 2020.
Correct.
And you've highlighted wanting to wake up from a dream, because I would assume, was it because of the cancer, or was it because while the cancer treatment was going on, you had COVID to worry about, and of course you have your daughter to worry about?
Yes, so there were so many challenges that I had to face at the same time. So it's like, I wish that there's only one thing that I had to focus on at the same time, but it was so many things that happened in a space of a short time that I felt like I'm not, like, you know, when you want to wake up from a bad dream and just wish you could wake up from your bed and it was all a dream. It was not true. But unfortunately, that was a reality for me. I had to go to the chemotherapy, and I had to have chemotherapy done once a week, and I had to have radiotherapy done 5 days a week. So Monday to Friday, I was in hospital. Mind you, when I was growing up, from the time I was born, I've never been to hospital, not for anything except for giving birth to my daughter. So I was never a person that went to hospital in the first place. But here I am, Monday to Friday, injections. And I hated injections. I hated injections before that. And now I've had to face the reality of Monday to Friday, I have to have these injections. Monday to Friday, I have to go to hospital. But besides that, I have to be a single mom to my daughter, because I'm a single mom. So I have to be a mom and a father, as always, to my daughter. Not only that, oh my goodness, just everything happening at the same time. It was so overwhelming to the point that I didn't even, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and I didn't even recognize myself. And that's because chemotherapy, by God's grace, I didn't lose my hair. And I did this hairstyle for a reason today, because I wanted you to see I didn't lose my hair, but I did lose my eyebrows and every other body, every other hair in the body. And I remember looking on the mirror and I didn't even recognize myself. I'm trying to think who I am and how did I get here. This kind of a bad dream, like I spoke about in the book.
Okay. And you mentioned your daughter and being a single parent, and you had a routine. You had a routine every day. You picked up your daughter. But now, every day, Monday through to Friday, the same time for school, you had to be in the hospital. Who stepped in as a single parent? Who was your support mechanism?
I still had to take my daughter to school, and from then go to the hospital. After the hospital, pick up my daughter from school, and from then come home and look after her. Those were the first few weeks. And then after that, she ended up being the one that looks after me when we get home, because I became weaker and weaker and weaker. And I lost a lot of weight as the time goes. So at the beginning, I used to pick her up. I used to take her from home, drop her at school, go to the hospital. And then I had to make sure that I organized that time with the nurses so that I'm able to go home I'm able to go to school to pick her up and go home. Now, the first 2 weeks, I was able to come home and clean and cook as I do. But the last couple of weeks, I became weaker and weaker. And I'm sorry to say that nobody stepped in. I had to go through this with me and God.
Wow. Wow. And that takes us through to your chapter 2, where you says, acceptance, recognizing and accepting my new reality. This has now become your new reality. Ntombi Shibambo has been diagnosed of cervical cancer. From being diagnosed at stage 1, within a couple of months, where you're thinking about treatment, what to do, where to go, it's gone to stage 2. And you're a single parent who has no support mechanism in place that could step in to continue caring for your daughter whilst you are receiving treatment. Treatment you were determined to have because you wanted to be around for your daughter. How did you manage this with your daughter? What did you tell her when you were now coming to that acceptance phase? How did you manage it? How did you tell her?
Unfortunately, at the beginning, as much as I didn't want to accept the news, I didn't want to share it with anybody else, because if I repeat it, it becomes a reality. And so I didn't, at the beginning, I didn't want to accept it, you know. Mm-hmm. So at the end, as I became weaker, I had to share with her. And so she can understand why I'm spending most of my time in bed. And so she can understand why she has to help me out with every other chores in the house. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so when I shared that with her, I remember her crying, but I didn't say the word cancer. I just told her that I'm unwell and that I have to go to hospital and then I will get better. You know, she was 11 at the time. I didn't feel like something. I mean, I don't judge anyone who have to tell their children at a young age, because it all depends. But for me, I didn't think my daughter is something that she can cope with or handle. And so I just told her that I'm ill and I have to go to the hospital, and she has to help me out with certain things at some times. And she was fine with that. She was a responsible little girl, and I've been a single mom for a very long time, so she's kind of used to me and her looking out for each other in a sense. So she kind of, you know, she showed me a part of her that I didn't know existed, you know. So yeah. She looked after me, and I managed to cope. And I just thank God until today on. I thank God.
And this is what they say, isn't it? So every challenge, there's a silver lining. And one of your silver lining is actually seeing another side of your daughter that you never realized existed. Now, going back to your that process of denial and finding yourself in the acceptance phase, you said, I just waited and waited, but nothing of that came along. It never happened. Eventually, I had to accept that this is my situation and this was my reality. I knew that if I was going to survive this ordeal, I needed to prepare myself for what was ahead. All I could do was to start listening to motivational speakers. Before I was diagnosed with cancer, I always loved to find ways that I could feel good about myself and keep the energy vibes and ambience around me to be endlessly positive all day, every day. Ntombi, what were you waiting for? What were you waiting for that never came along?
Hope.
Okay.
Hope. I was waiting for a letter through my door to say this was a mistake and it's not cancer. It's I don't know, fibroids or anything. I was waiting for a letter every day to come through that door to say that it was not. But eventually I had to accept that this is what it is, and this is my battle. This is what I have to face. It's like when someone loses a loved one and they don't accept that they are gone. But eventually you have to accept that this is my situation now. How do I deal with it? So I came from waiting for something to change or hoping for something to change to accepting that this is what it is to now what do I do?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Ntombi. Ntombi, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes so that you can grab yourself a glass of water and maybe a tissue, and then I'll just be talking, okay?
Okay.
So, yeah, grab yourself a glass of water and just give yourself a couple of minutes, all right? So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, this is reality. This is for real. I always try and endeavor to bring you reality, because I think sometimes just talking and talking from the textbook, talking from the research, talking from the scientists, it still doesn't bring the cow home. It's sometimes the reality is very, very important when you see it right in front of you. Ntombi Shibambo is our own African sister. She is from South Africa, but she is African. She is as black as you and I. She's young, fairly young, in her 30s, very early 30s. And like she said in the beginning, she did not take her screening seriously because she didn't feel anything was wrong with her. She couldn't sense anything. She was getting on with her life, and she was happy being a single parent raising her daughter. They're having a well of a life until she started having heavy bleeds, until she started having menstrual period that was lasting more than her norm, which was 4 days. And then she kept going to her doctor. They kept checking, nothing. They kept checking, nothing. And finally, the doctor felt, you know what, let's probe a little bit more. And of course, the news that she dreaded, that she didn't want to hear, that she didn't even think about, was told to her face. She was told she had cervical cancer, which is cancer of the cervix. And again, for those who are just joining us, it is a cancer of the neck of the womb. It is the passage to the uterus from the vagina. So, and it only affects women, by the way, because men don't have that part when it comes to their reproductive organs or system. So denial kicks in, of course. She doesn't want to hear this. It's not true. Why can't it be a fibroid? Why can't it be something else? Endometriosis or any other non-cancerous issues that usually happen around that part of our reproductive system and organs. That's all she wanted to hear. But then, of course, she had to accept it because reality did kick in. That letter she was hoping to get through the door to say, we're really, really sorry, Ms. Shibambo, this is a mix-up, or we've done further investigations, we've reviewed your case, all your tests, it's not cancer, it's something less life-threatening. That didn't happen. She had to accept. She had to accept and now face doctor number 2 to go through her treatment and what she should be having. And yes, she had to have chemotherapy. She had to have radiotherapy. She had to have brachytherapy. And I believe she had to have surgery, right, Ntombi? Surgery. Yeah,
I was supposed to have surgery.
Yeah.
And on the, I was supposed to have 5 brachytherapies, and on my 4th brachytherapy, as the doctors do, they check to see how the tumor and how I'm coping. And I remember the doctor that day, I was, because they put me under anesthetic, and then I go through brachytherapy, and then I wake up in another room. So when I wake up in another room, the nurse is there making sure I have something to eat, checking everything, temperature and all. And the doctor comes in and he's flicking everything, and he's saying to me, Miss Shibambo, it doesn't look like you will have to go through surgery. And then I says, doctor, why? And he says, yeah, the tumor is gone. And it's at this point in my life that I knew there is God. And I'm saying this because I'm not saying that you who are watching the viewer, I'm not saying that you have to believe in my God for you to go through what you're going through. But faith is very imperative. Faith is very important in life. Whoever you believe in, whether you believe in your ancestors, or whether you believe in, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Jew, I'm not saying that you have to believe in Jesus for you to go or to conquer whatever challenge in your life. What I'm saying to you is that faith is very important. I prayed so much to hear those news. I prayed so much, and I fasted, and I just wanted to hear those news. And the day that the doctor told me that I do not have to have surgery, I am free. And it was such a lift off my shoulders. I was meant to go through chemo, radio, brachy, and then surgery. But by God's grace, after brachytherapy, the tumor was gone.
Okay. So can you tell people a little bit what brachytherapy is, and also why you're so pleased that you didn't have to go through surgery? Because we all know what that surgery is and what it meant and what the impact it will have going forward. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Okay. So basically, I did not want to go to surgery in the first place. The first reason is that I've never had a surgery, and I couldn't imagine me going in a surgery, because that means I don't know how I'm going to look after my daughter. Me being in hospital under surgery, in my head, I'm always thinking and worrying about my daughter. She's always the next thing. Okay, after work, I have to pick up my daughter. After this, I have to, my daughter all the time. So if I'm to go to surgery and stay in the hospital for such a long time, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then not only that, I want to have kids in the future. So if they remove all these parts, because if they're going to do surgery, they're going to remove my ovaries as well. So I could not imagine not, I want to have my daughter is my only child. I want to have more kids in the future. So that's another thing as well. And brachytherapy, how to explain it? So they put these seeds, I'll call them seeds or plates, small plates. And so they put them in the areas of your womb, and then they activate them in order to shrink the tumor. So they shrink all the muscles at the same time as they are shrinking the tumor. So that's what brachytherapy is. Chemotherapy is the injection that goes, the drip. I'm very sure most of us are familiar with it. And then radiotherapy is pretty much putting the part of your body that has cancer, they put it in a microwave. If I can put it in simple terms, it's not a microwave. In a simple term, it's microwave because it's heat on, let's say it's breast cancer, so they will put the heat on that area of your body. So whichever area of your body radiotherapy focuses on that. So the heat will pretty much burn the tumor. And then brachytherapy is the seeds. For men who may have a cancer on another side of their body,
prostate,
prostate cancer. So they would put those seeds around that area to burn the tumor. So all these treatments are there to shrink the tumor or burn the tumor or decrease it in a way that it can eventually leave your body, hopefully.
Yeah. So you were so much in two minds, right? Because the surgery was the first option in the beginning because they just wanted to, they felt you're young, they wanted to get rid of the cancer totally, and that would have involved a type of surgery called hysterectomy. And that type of hysterectomy they were going to do, they were not going to spare your ovaries, they were going to take your ovaries out as well. But you were in two minds because you're very young and you've only had one child and you wanted to have more children. But also reading your book, you were also thinking, well, what's the point of having more children if I'm not even going to be alive to see them grow? So you were so disturbed when it came to your thought process, what you need to do, what's right, what's best. And of course, like you've clearly said, chemotherapy is a combination of drugs that is given to you systemically. Basically, it's infused through your vein, and then it goes all around your body. It's non-selective, so when it goes, it doesn't kill just the cancer cells. It kills any cell it's able to kill. And if they're not able to multiply very quickly, that's when people become very weak because the blood cells die quite quickly. That's when people lose their appetite. That's where people feel nauseated and so on and so forth. So that's what chemotherapy does to you. And then, of course, like Ntombi mentioned earlier, she was lucky enough. She didn't lose her hair, but some treatment, depending on the type of cancer and the type of systemic treatment you have, as in chemotherapy, you might lose your hair on your head and any other part of your body. But for her, she was lucky. She didn't lose the hair on her head, but she did lose her eyebrows and hair on every other part of her body. And then, of course, she had radiotherapy as well. Radiotherapy is external radiation that is beamed through directly to the area of where the cancer is. They usually do, if let's say your cancer is the size of a golf ball, they will make sure they give you radiotherapy to target an area that is as big as a tennis ball, just to make sure they mop up all the areas. And then, of course, brachytherapy is similar, but it's internal. So they have to insert these radioactive seeds into your body, which is primarily your uterus and your cervix, or for men, their prostate, and sometimes the bladder. So they insert these radioactive seeds. They are called seeds because they do look like seeds. And then they then activate them. And then so they can project as much beam and radiation within that organ or area to try and shrink and kill these terrible cancer cells to make sure they disappear. And for Ntombi, it worked. She was meant to have 5, but she ended up having 4. Because usually what happens when you're going through your treatment pathway, every so often they'll do investigations to review how you're doing with your treatment. And that includes ultrasounds, that includes scans, that include, of course, regular blood tests. Ntombi will tell you that she probably felt being violated, the constant blood test, because they don't give you chemotherapy if they haven't checked your blood, because if there are certain things that are not within normal levels, they cannot give you your treatment that week. Now, as much as it's been emotional and difficult to explain for Ntombi, it still feels like she had it easy. But from reading her book, she didn't have it easy. Can you please just share with us a little bit of the challenges you had be it going for treatment, being supporting your daughter, being on your own. Where is the rest of your family? How did you juggle all of that? Are your parents still alive? What did you say to them? Did you tell them the truth or not? And why? And so on and so forth.
So my mom is back in South Africa, and my dad unfortunately died many years ago. But the hardest thing was telling my family. There was a sad cloud, you know. Eventually I had to tell them. At the beginning I did it. I took some time to tell my family because not only I could not repeat it, but I just didn't want it to be my reality. Eventually I had to tell them what is going on. And it was just a sad time, you know. It was everyone, when I'm speaking to my family, everyone is sad. And at some point I felt bad. I felt bad that, because my family are happy, laughable, joking people. And I felt sad that the happiness is gone. It's just sadness. It's quiet. It's as if there's somebody that already died in the family, you know? So I felt bad that they had to go through that. But the day that I got the good news, I couldn't wait to tell them, because I just couldn't wait to lift that weight off their shoulders and to tell them that everything is okay. But otherwise, the challenges of me being a single mom and facing this, it was very lonely, you know. There's a time when I thought I had friends, you know, and I thought maybe because before I was there for these certain friends, and likewise when I'm going through a hard time, they'll be there, but it was not the case. And I had to have that awakening. So I had to learn the people that are around me. I had to learn the people that truly support me. And the people that I didn't think the least would be there for me were the people that were there for me, like Manchezi's daughter, Mbali. She's one of the people who once took me out for breakfast and just sat there and listened. You know, it's the little bit of kindness that people show you when you're going through a hard time that you can never forget. And so she sat me down, spoke to me, and she took me to one of the appointments. All of my appointments, I was going by myself, you know, because my daughter was at school. So I used to go there, and it was a lonely road, you know. It was very lonely. I didn't really have people to share this journey with. That's why I decided to write the book Afraid, because after the journey, I felt like I bottled so much into me that I carried this heavy experience that I didn't get to share, and I didn't get to tell many people. And then I remember one of the Macmillan nurses said to me that, you know, they offer, they can recommend therapy and stuff. And I thought, again, therapy, I don't think I need therapy. But one thing I'm interested in is how does therapy work? And so I remember taking a course on therapy. This is where I got to see cognitive behavior therapy and stuff like that. It kind of helped a little bit, but writing the book was the most therapeutic stage for me, because I got to repeat my experience, whereas I didn't all along. I kept quiet because cervical cancer is something to some people and to some level embarrassing, you know, because as a woman, you feel like your womanhood is taken away. Not only that, but you feel like there's a time in my life after a few treatments, because radiotherapy focuses on this part of my body and it burns this part of my body, and I became incontinent. It came to a point where I couldn't hold myself going to the toilet. And if one of my family members, I've got my sister and my brother in rugby, if they wanted to come around to see me, I would say no, because I don't want to be sitting here and then maybe rushing to the toilet and then I couldn't hold it. It became to a point where I felt bedbound, and throughout the night, I couldn't sleep for more than 15 minutes without waking up and going to the toilet, because my body has become so weak from the chemotherapy, and the radiotherapy has made my tissues so weak that I don't have control on that side of my body, whether it being going to the wee, for a wee, or to release my bowels. It was so embarrassing, to the point that I just wanted God to take me. It was very embarrassing.
Yeah. And that's when you said, it was not what I expected. Dashed hopes. And then you said, depression, please, God, take me away. So all through, you'd been working hard, you've been determined, you've managed to keep some level of tenacity because your inspiration had been your daughter. Your focus had been your daughter. But with all these experiences, with all these side effects of the treatment, it eventually came to a point where you thought, this is it. I can't take it anymore. Just let's end it, God. You let thy will be done. And but thank God it didn't. So I'm going to go over to the gentlemen now to see if they've got any comments to add. We've got viewers, but I think, as always from experience, when it comes to topics like this, viewers struggle to make comments, and they struggle to add or ask questions because they get so in tuned into it that the emotions take a lot out of them. And they are making comments like, thank God, praise God, you're brave, and so on and so forth. But it's usually quite challenging. And if it's any consolation, which is what your aim and was for doing this program, is there are a lot of women watching. A lot of women who, like I always say, even if this message today reaches one person, and like you said earlier on, it makes them tomorrow, that smear test they've been ignoring, they pick up the phone and reschedule that appointment, then we've made a difference in someone's life and probably generations to come. So over to the gentlemen, Juma and T-Boy and Femi. Who wants to go first? Do you have any comments or questions for Ntombi?
Thank you so much, Isatta. Thank you, Ntombi, and we say again, welcome to our platform, Sisay-Jalloh Media, and thank you for volunteering to share your story with us. Before we came on air, it was all smiles, all jokes, and I didn't know what to expect. When you started your presentation, you threw me off balance, and usually I'm not short of words. I would say all that I've been thinking, listening to you here, is, how did you do it? That's what's been running through my mind. I am like trying to replay, all the scenes, day by day, all the actions, just thinking about, a normal situation when someone is not ill, when possibly you have to go to work, but you don't have someone to babysit for you, or maybe you're running late for some reason. I'm just thinking what that is like, having to manage what you're going through manage the health and well-being and the safety of your daughter, and trying to pretend or to keep a face like everything is okay because you don't want to traumatize her. I'm trying to picture Birmingham and looking at possibly imagining the hospital, the nurses, what you're going to tell them, the school, and you there sitting, going through your treatment, but you're thinking about, I have to pick up my daughter at a particular time. Can you get done with this now so I can go? Or I have to cook for her. I have to make sure that I wash her clothes and all of that. Just you and her. How did you do it?
Yes, so it was very challenging. I'm not going to lie to you. I was weak at some point, but my daughter, like many of us parents, would share the same story when we say our kids give us strength in many, many challenges in life. And that was exactly it. She gave me the strength. I did not want her life to change. I did not want her to be affected by this. My daughter is such a happy spirit. She loves to dance. She's very clever. She's very smart. I didn't want any of that to change. So I made sure her school routine stays the same. And I made sure, like her birthday, there's a time during my treatment, her birthday came up. I made sure that I take her. I asked her what she wants to do, and she said they want to go kart racing. I made sure that I go there. I remember sitting in the corner and just watching her and make sure that her and her friends are okay, as long as she does her kart racing on her birthday, as long as her life continues the same and this doesn't affect her. But I came to a point where I had to know God. I had to come closer to God because that was my only hope. That was the only place that I can find comfort, where I can find hope. So I started praying more. And although my body was already weak, although my body was already losing weight, I lost a lot of weight. I lost about 3 sizes. And I told myself I'm going to fast. And I'm going to fast and I'm going to pray to God that this goes away. So I found strength in my daughter, and I found strength in God. And although through all the challenges and knowing that I have to somehow find a way for her to have her normal life, and I don't want her to go to school and her mind goes away because, like the book says, I've had many other challenges before, and there's a challenge that I came across when I was younger, and then in school my mind was not focusing well. I knew that I can't let this situation interrupt her schoolwork. So that's why I try to keep life as normal as I can, although she could see. I remember she looked at me and she could see that I'm getting weaker. She could see that I need her help. And so she stepped in. But otherwise, without prayer, without God, without strength and hope for the future, or eventually positive mindset, and that was eventually, it was not always positive mindset, but eventually I had to pull myself up and I had to fight.
Thank you again. And you see, now it's not more so about the diagnosis. Now you know that's what it is. Okay, they'll give you options. This is what it is, and you gamble to see what works. But for me, it's all the other things, the social impact, the psychological, like you stated, because it's a huge change in your life, circumstance that, you it's not like something you prepared for to say, okay, I'm going to prepare for this. This is what I'll do. I have a plan A and plan B. Everything just came down like that on you. But in the midst of all that, you still manage? Because I know it's a process. Possibly now you have some relief to talk about it. But in the midst of all that, you manage to document that process, that journey, that experience. And now you're willing to share that with other people. Again, the same thing that's running through my mind, I keep asking the same question in every step of the way. How did you do it?
So at the beginning, when I found out, I was in denial. I have to be honest, I was in denial. Like I said to our sister Isatta there, I was waiting for a letter that just says, no. Small mistake. But I didn't want to accept it. Even I did not want to accept it because I'm normally, I'm just a happy person in myself. I hardly, there's not many people that will tell you that they saw me crying, except for today now. But I'm one of those people who like to be happy. I like to be bubbly around people, and I like to help others as well. So I don't like to be on the other side where I need help. You know, I became vulnerable. I became weak, and I was not comfortable with that because I'm a person who like to help others. I'm a person who like to help others get strong. And I did not want to share the story. Most people were very shocked when I told them what I've been through. Most people could not believe it because I did not share it. And I tell you what, the first time I find out, when I went to my doctor and I found out the news, I was in the media. So I had a photo shoot to do in London the very next week. And I remember sitting at home thinking, shall I go or shall I not? Because now I came from being happy, being joyful, doing all those things. I like being, into this business. I love being into the media, all these things that I love to do. And then everything just dropped in one set of one news, the doctor telling me something and then everything stops. It was unbelievable for me. But I didn't tell anyone until I decided afterwards to write this book and just start talking. And that's how I ended up in this platform as well, to share my story, because there was no one I could relate to when I was there. There was no one that I could say, oh, so how did you feel? No one that I could relate to. So I felt like I wish I had someone who had told me, Ntombi, just go and get the smear test. Ntombi, this is a sign for this. Ntombi, I wish, or even when I was going through the battle, I wish there was someone that says, be strong, you will be over this. Be strong, you can fight this. I wish I had that. And so after the battle, I decided I am going to share my story because someone else will need to hear this. And I'm going to be that person that tells them that, yes, you can go through this.
Thank you so much. I'll pass it on to T-Boy, and I'm still wrapping it, around my head. Like I say, usually they believe that I'm the talkative one, but today I think I'll rest for today. I'll listen. Thank you so very much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Boy.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, Ntombi, you're very lucky today. Extremely lucky to be on this platform. And Mr. Barr is lost of words. Mr. Barr couldn't say much. So I believe not just the fact that you're lucky, but I think he's emotionally touched by your story. We've had a series of different stories regarding cancer and other issues, but I think he was extremely touched by the process at which you have gone through this particular journey. To me, it's amazing. And you talking about your background in media, I think possibly have reinforced that energy in you for you to believe in yourself and carry on to do what you do believe to do, in the fact that you want to make this public so that people can hear your story. And the journey for you is more than challenging and even more depressing for you to have a recount of the lapses that you are going through and you're putting it in writing. How did you hold up the mindset for you to be able to jot those information down as you're going through that horrible process? It's like, now that you're alive, it's like you are writing your death journey. This is what I was going through right up to this point, and this is how I'm going to die. How do you feel to do that? How do you feel?
It was very emotional. It was like reliving the moment. It was very, very emotional. It was at the same time, it was a relief because I didn't work on the book until after everything. So it was something that I had to look back on, and I was grateful at the same time. And it also made me think I need to touch other people. I need to speak to other people. And today is World Cancer Day. So what better day to share this story? And it was very emotional. It still is until now, as you saw. I don't think there will be a time of my life where I speak about this and it's not emotional, because it changed the way I look at things. And I think everybody who have been through this will tell you that it changes the way you look at life. And it did for me as well. It changed the way I look at things.
Right, that's good. And also, the relationship with you and your daughter is another remarkable relationship. And I think you've touched a lot of emotional stuff regarding that. So I may not want to dwell deep into that, because I was thinking of how that emotional connection was affecting the way she was doing things at home, in school, playing with friends, thinking at the back of her mind, oh, am I going to lose my mom, who has been the only pillar around me for all these years? That connection has been very closely tied. And now all of a sudden she's seeing you drifting away and you still want to maintain that link. So how comes there was no other network connected to that particular moment? Were you kind of in an environment wherein you spend more time on your own to the extent that your network was not that great? How did that come about? Because I know Africans sometimes are not comfortable to discuss personal issues to their family members or friends. How did you manage to hold it up? Because it's extremely challenging to be in that situation with you and your daughter. How do you manage to hold it up? Because it's really, really not going to be easy for you.
Yeah, so I was once a person who was surrounded with many people around me, sociable, happy. And then there's a time in my life where I decided to venture on into entrepreneurship. And this is the time where I made my circle even smaller. So at that time, the closest people, I mean, I don't think I have friends that I can count with more than one hand. So it became a small circle to the point that I became very isolated in myself, and this particular situation made me more isolated. I did not want to share with anyone this journey. So my family knew, and my very, very, very close friends knew, but everybody else that I know didn't know this. And I kept it that way because, you know, when I'm a kind of person, when I'm going through something, let's say I walked and tripped and then bumped my foot, and someone says, oh my God, are you okay? I feel worse. And so I don't prefer sharing my pain, because when I share my pain and then someone else has a input into it, it makes me feel worse. I don't know if many people are like that, but I did not want to have the PT, because the PT will also make me feel worse about myself than I already feel. And I felt as low as I can possibly feel. So I did not want to feel any more low than I am. And I didn't want anyone to, you know, because in our people as Africans, as Black Africans, cancer means death. So if I'm going to tell anyone, they will say, oh, so you're dying. And then there's one thing about the things that you should have in your head, or the things that you read or listen to during that time. Because when you are going through a situation like cancer or any other illness, even coronavirus, and then you switch on the news and see how many people are dying, eventually in your head, you will start believing that you are also dying. So the best thing that I did for myself at that point is to fight this battle and then have myself in a positive mindset eventually that I can fight this. And anyone that can try and put the negative thoughts in my head, I have to try and block it out. As much as the numbers say how many people die of cancer, as much as the numbers say all these negative things, I have to try and find a space in my head where I can say I can pull through this. At the same time, making sure that my daughter has the same happiness that she has in her, because she's just a generally happy person like myself. So I didn't want to change that from her, and I didn't want to take that away from her, because that would have made me feel really bad. And we got really close. I got to really know my daughter. Like, when I say we got really close, yes, we were close already as mother and daughter, but instead of me being at work, because I left work at some point for me to go to these appointments, they were Monday to Friday, so I couldn't go to work. I had to leave work. Whereas I could go to work and then we come back home. But at this point, there was no space of thinking about work or thinking about anything else. I had to go through this, come back home and spend time with my daughter. You see, the thing is, the bad things that happen in our life, there's always something else good that comes out of it. And I told myself from then on that no matter what job I decide to go, I decided to venture on into entrepreneurship and started my own business. But I will always make sure that I have all the time for my daughter. Whereas I used to work and work and work and come home and work and work. But that time gave me a space for me to really spend with my daughter. And she got to show me a side of her that I didn't even know existed, you know. So it's like right now when it's come to coronavirus and the pandemics and lockdown, we are getting to spend time with our partners, our families, and we're getting to see them in a different aspect that we've ever seen them before. And that's exactly what happened to me. And so I realized at that time that this cannot possibly be so bad. There has to be a way out. And then I started redirecting myself into seeing only the positive. Let me focus on the survival story. Let me focus on what I can do. Let me focus on the possibility of me being cancer-free.
Wow. You just touched on one issue that I was going to discuss about, which is the myth within the African community to say when you have cancer, you die. Or is it within your culture to say it is something that they have imposed on you in terms of like witchcraft? Did you ever thought about that in your mind at any point in time when you were going through the struggles?
The reality of when I started accepting that I have cancer, I now started asking myself why. And one of the things was, am I cursed? Because cancer is not the only challenge I faced. There's so many challenges that I faced. And at this point I thought, am I really cursed? Or, you know, is there something that I've done to someone so bad that this is what I have to pay for it? And I went through a stage of where I'm self-blaming myself to, what have I done? How can I deserve this? I know myself as a good person. So where did I go wrong? So I started blaming myself more than anything else, whereas it's just the cells in my body which fractured. And then I went through a whole self-blame, depressing mode.
Well, I don't think I want to push you through the same kind of thinking that you were in a couple of months, years ago. So we're not going to be pushing too many of these questions on you. So that you have the three most talkative on you, but at least the emotions of your story is actually keeping us back, thinking, wow, put ourselves in your position. And I'm thinking the mind at which you took up everything to where you are and in the position to discuss this is not just about a story, it's a remarkable one. And for the fact that many Africans, Black people, are very lazy in terms of writing, thinking of how I'm going to put my story together and make something out of it so that people can go back and read it, is another disease that we have as Africans. It's very, very recently now we can now see people like you are writing books about their experiences of what they've gone through in life, which is a norm for Europeans, because for every book you read is about a story of somebody. And it's a very good thing now that we Africans are putting that into practice and making sure that we leave the legacies of our stories for our yet unborn kids to actually pick up those books and say, oh, my great-grandmother wrote this book. It is also an amount of inspiration that you're passing on to your generation. So I think I will congratulate you for that. And you've spoken about entrepreneurship. I think we will leave that to the end of the program so people can actually hear some of your other skills, not just as a survivor, but for also what you're trying to put in place so that people will be able to believe and say, no illness is going to make me die, and that is not going to be the end of my beginning. It is the beginning of my beginning. So I think your story is inspirational. I think it will touch the lives of so many young women within our community. Let us come out and start to do things that are positively inclined and that will make a change within our society. Because for every one book that you wrote, Isatta has already bought one. Ourselves, we're possibly going to buy one. It is not directly connected, but I think it's good for us to learn as well, because you don't really just have to read something that is related to you. Because for as long as we want to pass on positive messages, you have to read about other people's lives. There is nothing wrong, or people who were reading Mills and Booms, nothing to do with them. It's purely fictional. But they were relating those books to their social life. They were relating those books to their personal lives. So I think for the book that you wrote, it's good for us to have a copy so we go through your journey. And not just going through your journey, but we feel the pain that you have gone through. It will change the mindset of the way even ourselves look at those books, because books can inspire people. Books can change lives of people. Books can actually motivate people to do so many things positively. So I think it's also an opportunity for us to have that copy. But I think I'll leave that to Madam Isatta, who I think will drill more into the book and possibly give us a link of how people should be able to get a copy and massive circulation, because supporting that book is not just supporting you financially, but we're also supporting the mindset of people that are going to read in it. So I think that's a good venture. I'll pass it on to Madam Isatta.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiboy. Thank you, Juma there. And once more, thank you, Ntombi. Yes, regarding the book, how to access it, I've just posted it on the chat. You can get Ntombi's book called Afraid on Amazon. And it's just a penny over £15. And like Tiboy said, you don't have to be going through this experience or similar experience for you to buy the book. You can buy this book to broaden your horizon, broaden the way you think, and try and understand somebody who is suffering from cancer is experiencing. Everybody's experience is quite personal and individualized, but there's a lot of similarities when it comes to the side effects of treatment, especially chemotherapy. It does take a lot out of people. And buying this book as a gift for someone who you know is suffering with cancer, and you usually find yourself lost for words. You don't know what to say to them because you can't really understand what they're going through, and you don't want to say the wrong thing. You could buy this book as a gift. I am planning to buy it as a gift for a couple of people that I know would enjoy reading it and absorb it. So, and I think it will make a lot of difference to them at this stage in their journey. So it will benefit a lot of people. So over to you, Juma. What did you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add regarding the book. From the story, I've not had an opportunity yet to read it, but from what you've been highlighting and the way Ntombi narrated her story and experience, I'm sure the book is not only for people who, may be cancer patients or or going through that journey. I think her experience can be related in so many ways, how we can cope, how we can apply ourselves, how we can still believe when we think there is no hope, and still have confidence that she stated something that you might believe in whatever you believe in. You can be a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, or you believe in your ancestors, or just something, something like this can help you in your daily life. Because as I was thinking how she did it, the other question I was asking myself, and possibly I'm sure many other viewers would be asking, is who am I to complain? Hearing that story is like, who am I to complain? Because remember, before we came on here, I was like, oh, you guys don't know my experience today. I was willing to come and pour it on you, But then now listening to this just makes mine like I look stupid and foolish for what I wanted to come and complain about. Okay. I just wanted to tell you that, I got stranded out there. I'm so cold. You don't know. We did not sleep last night. And, then we, I went through that. Then we have to come on here. Can you imagine? That's what I was. So who am I to complain after listening to Ntombi's story and her journey? So we'll definitely patronize and we'll ask people to make sure that they support, her book project. And that helps in a lot of other ways as well. She's giving back, and then she'll feel appreciated as well. So we'll make sure we support you in our little way.
Thank you, Juma. But also, apart from giving back and getting some level of satisfaction from it, what it's also helped and what it has helped Ntombi go through is therapy. Now, she mentioned the Macmillan nurse told her about therapy, which is counseling, which is talking therapy. And I know as Africans, that's not something we are accustomed to. We don't hear it. It's not we're like, therapy? Why am I going to go talk to someone about my life? Please, leave me alone. Let me go about my business. But then we internalize all these issues. We internalize them. And we feel we're in control, but then we get to a point where they actually then take over our lives, and then they dictate how our personality becomes, our behavior, our relationship with others, and so on and so forth. So writing this book for Ntombi, although she didn't do that one-to-one counseling, what she's done is actually therapeutic as well. She's actually done counseling in a different format. She's put pen to paper and she's relived her experience. And that has forced her to accept it. It has forced her to jump the hurdle of denial. It has forced her to review her anger, her frustration, her depression, and it finally allowed her to see reality. And the silver lining, of course, is that ray of hope. That hope when she got that news that you don't need any further treatment because your cancer is gone. Now, one thing I want Ntombi, I want you to touch on. I know you said having this predicament kind of brought you closer to your God. As a Christian, you believe in Jesus Christ and being the Son of God, and you fasted and you prayed and you asked for good news. Now, what I want you to just talk a little bit about, although you did all of that, did you ever think, okay, I'm going to focus on this more and I'm not going to go for my next cycle of treatment or my next brachytherapy because I'm going to fast and pray anyway? God is going to make a miracle and I'm going to be cured. So I don't need all this treatment. Did that ever cross your mind?
No, not at all. I've never thought I will not go for the treatment because at this point, I just wanted my life back. I just wanted to be okay. And if this is what the doctor has seen on the x-ray, and this is the treatment that they suggest will fix it, then I just wanted God to pull me through it and then get to the other side okay. I have never thought at myself that I will pray and fast and not go. That is the decision that I wouldn't personally advise anyone personally, but everyone has got their own options. I wouldn't personally advise. I would advise someone to have faith and pray to whoever they believe in for them to get through. And I wouldn't advise anyone not to go through this, because the reason that I ended up in that position in the first place is because I was not medically informated, you know. So if I was in the beginning, I wouldn't have even went through that. So as much as at the beginning I looked at stuff like cannabis oil, I looked at the diets, the Dr. Sebi diets, the keto diets. I looked at all of them, and I did make sure I changed my diet. After chemotherapy, I got home and made sure I drink and eat as healthy as possible. But I didn't stop any of them due to my Christianity or due to the keto diet or the alkaline diet. I didn't stop the treatment because of those other diets or my belief. So I worked with them together in making sure that I get my body back, because that was the main thing for me, to get everything out of the way and get my life back. That was my main focus. I am not saying that God cannot do it. I'm not saying that God cannot heal, but my story is that I believed in God getting me through that journey, and not to say that I will pray and fast and not go to the hospital. Because the last thing I wanted, not that I have lesser belief in Christ or anything, but the last thing that I wanted is to fast and pray and then go back, and then they say, oh, Ntombi, stage 4, you've only got a few months to live. Then that's not the news that I wanted. I wanted to pray for God to help me, keep me strong, to look after my daughter as usual, and for God to keep me strong to pull through the journey. But I still went ahead to my treatments.
Okay, good, fantastic. And eventually you became more positive. You had more faith. Eventually you were less afraid. You said to yourself, you see, I was always afraid of death. You see, who thinks about death anyway? Nobody does. They just leave. And if you lose someone close to you, you feel like you never really and truly lose them. You never think about how it can just happen to anybody at any time. But I was no longer afraid, because I started finding myself in God's comfort. I started listening to motivational speakers. And that is what I want to home in on. I want to home in with this paragraph in your book. I want to ask the question, did you ever think you were going to die? And if so, did you ever thought about putting plans in place? And have you put plans in place wherein you've come close to death for your daughter?
I have thought that I was going to die. The minute that I accepted that this is my situation, I thought that I am going to die. And at some point, I accepted that. I accepted that this is the way, then that's fine. Then God, just go ahead and take me. I'm ready now. I accepted that this is my journey, and cancer means death, and this is me now. This is the end of me. I didn't think that I would be sitting here with you a year later, exactly a year later today. I didn't think that I'll be sitting here and talking to you lovely people, but I thought, yeah, that's the end of my story. And I didn't have anything in place. I didn't have life insurance in place. And I remember thinking to myself, why have I not been serious about anything at all? Like, I never thought any of this will happen to me. And so I never thought life insurance. And to be honest with you, most of us Africans in general, whichever corners of Africa, we do not think about life insurance. We do not take those things seriously. We don't think any of this will happen to us. We don't think cancer will happen to us, diabetes, whatever. If anything, when something happens or somebody is disabled in our family, we quickly think witchcraft. We quickly think something must have been done to somebody's grandma. And no, things like this can happen to anybody at any time. And we need to take note of life insurance. I didn't, but right now I had a better lesson in my life. Yes, everything else is in place. And I'm going to make sure and reassure everything else has been a new perspective in life. I'm looking at everything on a different eye. And so I had to make sure I make many changes, including life insurance. No, I didn't have it in place, but I had to make that change.
Okay, fantastic. And that's a good message to all our viewers. Sometimes you don't wait for situations like this for you to put things in place. I have a program that will be coming up soon in the near future called Put Your House in Order, which basically we will talk about the importance and value of having insurances such as critical illness insurance, life insurance, and writing a will, legal guardianship, because Ntombi found herself in a situation where, what if she hadn't survived? Who would have had her daughter? She hadn't had anything in place. She didn't have a will. She didn't have legal guardianship or power of attorney, anything that could safeguard her daughter. Her daughter would have been at the mercy of the state, basically. And so it's very, very important that we think about some of these things, not only when we become unwell, because not all of us might be as lucky as Ntombi. She was lucky. She survived her challenges, her struggles, and she's at the other end, and she's able to correct some of her mistakes. But some people might not be, and that is why she's here today sharing her story, so that you don't have to go through what she has gone through. We haven't even touched on the financial challenges that she might have gone through, because like she mentioned earlier on, she had to stop work, and she's a single parent. How did you manage financially? How did you manage? You mentioned you were still able to give your daughter all what she needed, including celebrating her birthday. Now, for all of us who have children, nieces and nephews, we all know taking them to places like go-karting and all of that is not cheap. It is not cheap, because you're sometimes it comes in a package deal. You have to pay for the time for them to do the car racing, and then you have to buy the meals, and then we have to give them party bags, and so on and so forth. How did you manage financially? How did you cope? Where did you manage to get help?
Thank God that the most close people to me that I have decided to keep as a close circle in my life, and that circle was people who sincerely care about me. And one of them being my very best friend. She's from Congo. Her name is Aimee, and she made the journey with her child and made sure my daughter has a great birthday. She was there at the hospital when I was trying. She was on the phone. She was, there's a certain time in life where people show you who they really are. Although that there were some people, there were the friends that I thought were going to be there that who were not, but the friends that, I say friends, but there were just two people that I can count on, that I can say have really shown their loyalty. And one of them being my very best friend, Amy, she showed herself on my daughter's birthday. And my sister as well, although she was not able to make it on the celebration at that day, but she was financially able to help me and lend me a hand, thank God.
So what about financially on a day-to-day? Losing an income, still having to look after your daughter, pay your bills, and knowing from my job in terms of experience looking after cancer patients, one of the things that is affected is your taste buds. And you start behaving, sometimes some of the treatment, you start behaving as if you're pregnant and you're going through morning sickness and so on and so forth. So you're constantly changing your diet. Your craving is constantly changing. Today you might fancy mango, and then somebody might go and then you buy 4 or 5 mangoes. By tomorrow, nah, it doesn't taste good anymore. You want a whole new type of food. And of course, like you were saying, you were researching on all these diets, what to keep you going, what to keep you strong. And they're not cheap. They are really not cheap. So how did you manage that? Did you get any help from the government or the local authority?
Thank God, at the very beginning, when I've just left my work, I was also trying to save some money. Being a single parent for 11 years, I have learned to budget. I have learned to save. So that has kept me up for a couple of weeks and months until I started getting help from the government. I remember when I called the number and I thought, me calling the government for financial help? I couldn't believe it. I had scooped my lowest, and there was no other way for me to do things. This was the only way, and I'm transparent enough to say, yes, I did seek for help with the government because I had no other way. For a couple of weeks, I managed to live on my savings, and that took me on for a while, but with no other income coming in, and because I'm living at a property where I have to pay rent and council tax and stuff like that, I'd rather make sure that everything else is secured than being out on the street ill and everything. So I seek government for help. Yes.
Okay. Good. Fantastic. Femi, do you have anything to add on? I know that this has been quite heavy for you gentlemen today, but I think I want to hear from you guys from a man's perspective. And I think I'm going to go around and ask you guys, what have you learned? If what can you share? What can you go back to your friends, your brothers, your in-laws and say to them, in our local dialect, me man, that's ikideo, if you notice this or that, na so, or me man, that woman, they go through that sikleo and for support them. Basically, what I'm saying for our non-Sierra Leoneans is I'm saying to them, men, what have they learned today and what are they going to take away when they go back and they're hanging out with their friends, rather than talking just about football and politics? When they do talk about health, what can they share as a positive comment? Over to you, Femi.
Hi, Isatta, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Where do I start? Ntombi, first of all, I'd like to thank you for sharing your story. My colleagues have said it all. You're brave, and you have a good story to tell. You went through quite a lot, but this, possibly you informing other people, might help somebody deal with it in a better way, might help somebody not get to the stage that you got to by actually talking to people, seeking help, going to the GP, going to get the smear test done, and not having to go through what you're going through, maybe by just listening to what you're saying. You used the term, you said you were medically informated. I'm an informations man, and I really and truly, I can understand what sharing information, what that does. It opens doors, it opens pathways. We live in a new world where technology is changing every day, and some of us have to share information on a regular basis to get people to be able to move from A to B. What you've done and what you're doing today, what Isatta does every week with our help, I believe that we will at least touch the life of somebody that might go get tested and as I said before, not go through what you're going through. Cancer is, I can't really use the word, I don't think it's past the watershed in some country, but cancer is terrible. A lot of us have seen people, know people, have felt pain. A lot of us have suffered from it. You know, growing up, we heard the word cancer, 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 and most of us didn't really understand what it meant. I don't think you really understand it till it touches somebody close to you or it touches yourself. A few years ago, a friend of mine was touched by cancer. I don't know if I've shared this story in this station before, but we worked together, and you know, we're starting to get to an age where we were less active. We didn't play as much football. We didn't run as much. So, you know, our bodies started to you know, get into a pear shape. So, you know, the belly started to grow. And we decided to do something about it. We didn't have the energy or the time to do a lot of exercise, so we decided that we're going to cut down on our diet. We're going to start eating fruits. And, you know, after a few weeks, few months, he was coming to me and saying, Femi, look at me. I've changed. I'm losing so much weight, and we were all happy for him, not knowing that there was something else that was happening. And you know, he felt ill, and he went for a general checkup, and he came back to work, and he told us, unfortunately, he's been sent home by the NHS and told that he had only a few weeks to live. I think it was 3 months to live, and it was terrible. You know, we were all devastated. And I think for me, that was one of the first times somebody very, very close to me was diagnosed with cancer. And I realized that, you know, possibly I was not going to see him, you know, I wasn't going to see much of him anymore. But, you know, God is good. He met a doctor who gave him a medicine that was not certified by the NHS at the time. It was a new medication, and he said to him, this is a risk. You know, we're going to try this drug if you're interested. It might work, it might give you a few more months, or it might kill you even quicker. Alex, his name was, had, you know, he didn't have, I guess he didn't have much of a choice. He had teenage kids, and he wanted to buy more time, so he took the risk. And he did, it was some kind of chemotherapy, because on some days he was good as gold, other days he was terrible. We would have an appointment to go and see him, and his wife would call and say, today's not a good day, guys. Can you know, make it another day? Or, yes, he's not feeling too great, but he'd love to see you guys. He needs cheering up, and we would show up there. And on the very first occasion I went to see him at the hospital, I was with all my European colleagues, I should say, and we walked through the reception of the hospital, and I just saw somebody I knew, and that person was our Isatta here. It was a hospital she was working in, and she's like, Femi, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, you know, we came to see a friend, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, this was, what, 2000 and maybe 7, 8, something like that. But, you know, God is good. He lived another 3.5 years. He was given 3 months to live. He lived 3.5 years. He gave him time to put his affairs in order. He gave him time to see his kids grow up. And till this day, from time to time, his wife sends me a card. You know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to the funeral because I said, you know, we were waiting for this funeral to happen, and it didn't happen. He just kept on living and living. But unfortunately, I went to Sierra Leone. I had some bereavement, and I went to Sierra Leone, and one day whilst I was home, my phone rang, London called, work called. I thought, oh gosh, what's happened at work? And they said, oh no, it's nothing to do with work, we've just lost Alex. So, you know, and they buried him whilst I wasn't here. But as soon as I got back, I went to see the family. And, you know, one thing that, you know, crosses my mind, maybe it's not for this program, it's the cost of cancer drugs. You know, it's I actually get quite upset when I see the high price of some cancer drugs, and the NHS say that they're not, you know, these are drugs that aren't prescribed by the NHS because of the cost for them. So much money gets raised through cancer research, or cancer donation, should I say. Marathons gets run in the name of cancer, Macmillan cancer support. We're all giving here, there, and everywhere. And then when people actually need the drugs, it is still not available. That literally just kills me. And since Alex passed, I've had a few other friends, family pass to cancer, a few guys prostate cancer in particular. So I wear this symbol here, and I remember them. Each November, I do something they call Movember. I used to grow a moustache. Lockdown has made me grow my moustache and my beard a little bit more because there's no barbers. But, all my friends who work, theirs goes quickly. Black people, ours grows very slowly. But, we've raised money over the years. But each time I raise money, I always think that this money doesn't really go into the right places. And that really pisses me off. And when Isatta just asked you how you coped with finance, I know most probably the NHS provided all the drugs you needed and everything, but other things would have come that you'd have needed to buy and do and, put together. And I can imagine as a young woman how troublesome it would have been to have been struggling with health and then thinking about where you're going to find finance to manage your life and your daughter's life. Again, I want to thank you. I've got no questions for you, really. I just want to praise you, praise God for you being here today. We are Christians. We believe that God will save us, but we don't leave it all to God because He gave us a brain. He gave us the ability to have faith. I jump on the plane, and the first thing I pray for is favor. I pray for favor for the pilots. I pray for the plane so that nothing happens to the plane. God can't do it all. He's giving knowledge to certain people to drive our lives. So I'm happy that you did that. You put your faith in your doctors, and they delivered with God's help.
Amen.
Wow. Juma, Femi beat you to it today. Today, Femi beat you both. That's amazing. That is really, really amazing. And that's amazing experience. I totally forgot about that. Wow, that was a long time ago, Femi. That was long. And I remember seeing you and thinking, I know that guy. But then you were with all these white people. I'm thinking, what? Then I looked and I said, Femi! It was wow. I can't believe it was that long. Well. We're talking about cancer today because it's World Cancer Day. And we are raising awareness. We're educating one another. We're sharing experiences. And we're promoting health and well-being. And yes, it's about cancer today. However, a lot of what we talk about on this program, on this platform, is all about raising awareness from a generic point of view when you talk about health and well-being. So today we have our South African sister, Ntombi Shibambo, who I've met through a friend who has had a very recent, I would say it's still raw, experience, an encounter with cancer of the cervix, which she never thought she would have because she was going on happily ever after with her life. Everything was fine. So why did she bother? Why did she have to bother with a smear test and so on and so forth? But she's here with us today. She went through all of it. She went through the denial phase. She went through accepting reality, acceptance, depression, getting closer to God, and then finally having that ray of hope that made her to be able to sit here today and have a conversation with us. And yes, 2 comments on the chat line where somebody said, we need to put our house in order, not just because of cancer, but other illnesses. Certainly so. We certainly need to put our house in order. We need to look at things like life insurance, health insurances, critical illness insurance, writing a will, guardianship. I think in our community, some of the things we fail to realize is the number of single parenthood, where when that single parent breaks down and when that system falls apart, there's nobody to pick the pieces except for the government. So we need to start thinking about safeguarding. How do we safeguard our children from such situations? Because really, nobody knows what happens tomorrow. You know, if going back a year or so, if you'd asked Ntombi, what would you do if you had cancer? She'd be like, go away. Are you mad? You see me like someone who is going to get cancer. I've never been sick in my life. Because we've got these ideation and thoughts and myths in our head that cancer is for the poor, or cancer is for certain color skin, or cancer is for shorter people, or cancer is only for people who live on this side of the equator, and so on and so forth. But the reality is cancer is very non-selective, and it doesn't matter your race, your age, your gender, your sexuality, it can hit you. Because we know from a statistics point of view, 1 in 4 people will suffer with cancer at some point of their life. And we all, even on this platform here today, we all have experience with somebody who has suffered from cancer. My part, I have lost 4 aunties actually to cancer from my maternal side. And I've got 2 at the moment. One is a survivor and one is still just recently been diagnosed, and she's fighting through it. So it is quite a disease that is quite around, and it can really hit you, and it can change your life, and it can make you look at things from a different perspective. Like Ntombi said, your life changes. Whether you like it or not, your life will change when you've had an experience with cancer. And so what can I say, Ntombi? What message, for us to round this up, what message would you like to send to our people, to everyone who's taking their time today to watch us? I know when at the end where you're saying your overall health and then a message to the people, you're telling people about understanding and putting themselves first and making themselves a priority and talking about cancer rather than saying stuff like the C word and so on and so forth. So what would you like to say? What would be the message you would like? And again, just to add on, this is Ntombi's book. It's called Afraid. Oh, it's amazing. You can literally read this book in 1 week. I received mine on Monday, and I'm on the 6th chapter now. It's really straightforward. The font is quite big, so it's easy to read if you've got eyesight problems. And it's only got...
Are you referring to me now with eyesight problems?
It's only got... Well, I've got glasses myself. It's only got 10 chapters, so it's really good. And only, under 100 pages. Yeah, under 100 pages. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Value for money. Like I said earlier on, if you know of somebody who is going through cancer or any other difficult time in their life, and you don't know what to say to them, because most times that's what happens. You really don't know what to say because you don't want to say the wrong thing. This could be a nice gift for them. This is a lifetime gift. Like I said, I'm going to get a couple for a couple of people who are very close to me. Sorry?
Where can we get copies?
So you can get a copy from Amazon. So from Amazon, it's £15 1p, you know. So it's quite good. It's a paperback. And like I said, it's easy to read. And it's called Afraid, Fighting Cancer with Hope, Faith, and a Positive Mindset. I think that's very important, a positive mindset. And I think that's what Ntombi is going to leave us with today. what is your message to our people, our viewers?
Okay, I would like to say, first of all, thank you so much, viewers, for tuning in, and I hope you took something with you today that you may share with a family member or friends. I would like to say to you, whatever your body is telling you, please listen to it. If your body is changing and acting out of the ordinary, go get checked. Save yourself the journey, save yourself the pain, not only the pain that you have to experience, but your family and close ones have to experience. So save yourself from that and get checked. Don't put it aside and think, oh, you've been strong all this time, so it cannot possibly happen to you. Be on the safe side. And if you do see someone else who is struggling or going through something, be that light, be that person that advise them or comfort them through it all. And another thing, be positive. I know it's easy to say be positive when everything is okay. And it's hard to say be positive when everything else is not. But find that little rain of hope within you. Find it, seek it. Find that person inside you, the strong will. I guarantee you that every challenge that you have conquered has given you a new sight of life, has given you a new skill or a new way of looking at life. So cancer or any other illness is exactly that. You are going to come through it. You have to believe it. Cancer eats you here more than it eats you in your body. The reality of it alone eats you in your mind. And when it eats you here, then your body cannot cope. So please stay positive in every challenge, not only cancer, but every challenge that you may face, whether with family, relationship, marriages, anything. Stay positive and know that you will conquer. You can and you will, and do not be afraid.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Do not be afraid. It can be a mind over matter situation. Keep a positive mental attitude. Be hopeful. Have faith in whatever God you serve. Gentlemen, have you got anything to say before I round up?
Well, so far on my end, there's not much to say, except that it's been an excellent program, and I've learned a lot again today, and I've got a lot to take home. And hope is one thing, that this program reinforces today, and being positive and believing that, the impossible is possible as long as you have hope. And again, like Ntombi stated, we should be self-aware about our surrounding, about ourselves, the way our bodies transform. It's very important. And what is key, she stated as well, we're not saying don't have friends, but try to reevaluate your network, your social network, because that's one big asset that you cannot pay for when you may need it most. If you think that the people you have around you may not be there when you need them most, you have to think twice, meaning that you have to be aware, you have to self-evaluate, because, you have the friends or the acquaintances that you go clubbing with, that you have all the parties with, but when the D-Day comes, they may not be there to lift a finger. The ones that you least expect are the ones that may be there. So be conscious and think, the whole 9 yards about your surrounding, about yourself and the people around you. And let's stay positive. And thank you, Isatta, for continuing to bring more programs to us. And we're going to continue to share the information. It's very important because, when you share, it shows that you care and you make a difference. Until then, on my end, I say thank you very much. I'll leave it with T-Boy to, Rob Mott.
Well, thank you very much once more, Ntombi. And of course, Isatta, I will not say thank you to you because I'll be making a mistake, so thank you. But I just want to make one quick reflection on what Ntombi highlighted during the celebration of her daughter's birthday. I think I was just reminiscing, thinking possibly what was going through your mind at that point in time. These are your final last moments you're celebrating with your daughter, so you're trying to make the best out of it. And I'm putting myself in that situation, knowing I am going to do everything now possible. Even if I don't have that penny, I will find it and spend it just to be within the midst of my daughter and make her happy so that I will leave her with happy memories. I think when you were saying that stuff, it was just triggering in my head. Was this like a goodbye messages, or were these issues based on the fact that you were thinking, when you were thinking, oh, am I going to die? Okay, yes, I might make use of the time that I have now. So I think it's very emotional going through all that process. Even me thinking about it is also emotional. But I would say, with all your support for today, I think it's been pleasant to have you. Hope to see you back again for more conversation into whatever you're doing in your current life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that was it, isn't it? We wanted to know about her entrepreneurship. What you're doing other than fighting cancer and sharing your stories. What do you do? What have you embarked on?
So last year, I decided, because as I said, the whole experience gives you a new sight of life. And so I decided to do what I always wanted to do, which is going into entrepreneurship. And one thing I always wanted to do is always have my healthcare agency. And so I remember coming back home and decided I'm going to start designing the logo, because the more I focused on what's going on, the more I got depressed. So I knew that I have to focus my mind on something else in order for me to not dwell in this depression. Because the more I get depressed, the more I get stressed, the more I'm not well physically. Although I'm already not well, I mean, what's the worst that can happen at this point? I'm not making any good for myself to be more depressed than I already am. So I decided to focus my mind on something that can possibly make me happy. Like I mentioned in the book, when I listen to motivational speakers, like I still do now. So those are the things that kept my mind focusing on different things. So I started Care Unit Agency, which is a healthcare agency, and I started structuring it and everything, writing the business plan during my the last few weeks of the treatment. And it's basically I hire carers and nurses to work in nursing homes. So it's a healthcare agency. I've started it. This is my office right there behind
me.
Oh,
wow. Wow, fantastic. Well done.
Right there.
Well done. And that is what we call a ray of hope. A ray of hope, because it doesn't matter what you're going through in life. If you have hope, faith, and a positive mindset, you can overcome it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to a close. Today, as you know, we've talked about cancer. Cancer in general, just looking at it from a general perspective, but most importantly, talking to a sister of ours from the other side of Africa, South Africa, who has had first-hand experience of a type of cancer that she was able to share with us. And we've been able to pick up quite key information, facts, as well as take-home messages from it. And we will continue doing this on this platform. Soon to come on March the 13th would be the C World Conference, which is Cancer Conference. And we would be doing that virtual Zoom this year. It will be the 3rd annual conference. And again, you might see Ntombi, because there would be an opportunity for survivors to share their story or give us just few tips about survivorship. And so, and over the years, the feedbacks have been good. So who knows? You might see Ntombi back again on March the 13th. Take this as an invitation now. And I know quite a number of people have messaged me personally who have really been touched by your story, but most importantly, by your bravery, your confidence to come and share it on social media, because I think that's one of the challenges we have as Africans. Africans, we like to hold everything close to our heart. We don't like to share because we're worried about the repercussions or the impacts. And few people have messaged me to say, wow, I wish I'll have the courage to do what she's done, because she's just taken me back many, many years, or I am going through the same, and so on and so forth. And I keep saying to those people, take your time. When you're ready, you'll come out, because not just look at this as sharing your story, it's also therapeutic. You're going through talking therapy, and it's making you talk about something that is difficult and challenging. And yes, as we've seen on this platform, it can be quite emotional sometimes, but that is the reality. The reality is the reality. So join us next Thursday. More information to come on what topic we will be looking at, because again, as usual, the health show is quite open and willing for people to come forward with either topics of discussion, as long as it's health related, and we can accommodate everyone. So I'll leave you with a line in Ntombi's book where she says, when you take care of your body will take care of you. So, like every other illness or disease, cancer, if you take care of your body will take care of you, because there are so many risk factors that contributes to the diagnosis of cancer. And one of those risk factors is lifestyle, how you live your life. You are what you eat, your diet, your exercising, your sleeping, your alcohol intake, your nicotine intake, and so on and so forth. So it's very important. And also looking after your body by making sure you do your regular health checks and screening. Keep on top of things. Even if you're feeling 100%, if you're due a smear test, please go for a smear test. I've got a young sister of mine who, again, she has been a women's health advocate, because at a very early age, she had an abnormal smear test and she had to go for another test, and so on and so forth. And thank God she was all clear. Had she not gone for that smear test, she would probably have ended up in the similar situation that Ntombi did. So it's very important. We can only, I don't know how much I can stress it in terms of the importance of screening, especially in this part of the world, in the diaspora, where we don't have to pay for these things. In most of the countries, it's offered free. Yes, we do contribute to it one way or another, but incomparable to what some of our brothers and sisters are going through in Africa, where the healthcare system is zero to none. So please, I would leave you with that. Please look after yourself. Know your body. When you take care of your body will take care of you. Until we meet again, have a lovely evening. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. And keep away from people. We're still in a pandemic. Yes, it's getting better slightly, but let's continue to be vigilant and only go out if you need to go out. Thank you very much and have a blessed evening. And happy World Cancer Day.
Happy World Cancer Day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
When I was young, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences seen now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we do now? Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abuse little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape, sexual abuse, or pedophilia, is a killer to human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence.
Speak now.
The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
I think death sentence should be the consequence of such terrible act.
And you mothers, build confidence in your children, put trust in them, listen to them when they make reports, and take necessary actions.
Talking of mothers before now, women were virtuous.
They were mothers, daughters, and sisters.
Nurturing, counseling, supporting their men folks.
But now,
women are trafficking female children for money.
Women are forced to be silenced.
all this must stop, and it must stop now.
Real men do not abuse, rape, or molest women and children. It is barbaric, unacceptable.
Let all real men stand with us.
Together, let's say an emphatic no to rape, sexual abuse, pedophilia, and domestic violence.
Of all the crimes committed against a person, rape is the one that leaves a person feeling very violated. A rape victim is often left with the feeling that a part of them has been torn apart.
To use another person's body and ignore the souls that resides within is one of the most outstandingly shocking crimes that one person can commit against another.
Some men harass and rape their women.
Some men sexually abuse underage girls.
Some men beat and kill their wives.
Any form of sexual assault is unacceptable.
There must be consent before you act.
Being in a relationship is not consent.
If they are not sober, they can't consent.
Flirting is not a consent.
We had sex before is not consent.
Silence, it's not consent.
Only an informed, sober, freely given, ongoing, and enthusiastic yes is consent.
Women should stop dying in silence.
A man does not become a real man by physically dominating a woman. A man becomes a real man by loving, protecting, and respecting the woman.
Real men do not rape or abuse women and children.
Let all real men stand with us. And together, let's say no to child abuse, no to domestic violence, no to all forms of rape, being it spousal rape, intimate partner rape, child sex abuse, statutory rape, date rape, serial rape, and gang rape.
We must rise up against this ugly trend. Justice for one, justice for all.
All sexual assault must stop, and it must stop now.
Hello, my name is Josephine Kamara. I'm the founder of You Can Do It Foundation. You Can Do It Foundation is a charitable organization based in Sierra Leone, West Africa. You Can Do It Foundation has been in existence for the past 2 years. We have been fighting gender-based violence against women and girls within the community. During the past 2 years, we have been offering psychosocial support, counseling, court fee, medical fee, including school items to the survivors of gender-based violence. However, during the lockdown of COVID-19, report received and confirmed that rape cases among a minor has increased tremendously within our community. Because of this, You Can Do It Foundation has secured the land to build an accommodation for the survivors of rape. However, this may almost become impossible without your generous support. We need your help to build this home for the survivors. Your help could be in cash or in kind. If you wish to join us to make a difference in a child's life, please go to our website, which is www.youcandoitcyf.org, or you can go to our GoFundMe page, which is Home of Hope for the survivors of gender-based, or you can contact us with the details at the end of this video. We thank you greatly for your generous support, and thank you once more for making a difference in a child's life.
I was raped multiple times by my aunt's boyfriend when I was 6.
I was repeatedly raped at the age of 8 by a close family member. I was raped at 19. I didn't speak openly about it because I was ashamed and afraid that people would judge me.
I was raped at age 5 by my caregiver's husband.
On June 17th, 2020, 5-year-old Khadija Sakho, a beautiful little girl from Freetown, Sierra Leone, was repeatedly raped and strangled to death, allegedly by her own cousin. Her death shocked the nation. But in truth, in this small West African country, 9 out of 10 girls experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. Think about that for a second. 9 out of 10. That's 90%. My name is Aisha Sisay. I'm a journalist and activist. I'm joining forces with Idris Elba and other activists from across Sierra Leone to support the survivors of sexual violence with the Survivors Solidarity Fund. Please consider donating whatever you can afford. All monies raised will go to 4 local organizations currently providing free medical and legal services to survivors. 5-year-old Khadija lost her life to sexual violence. That same threat remains for millions of others. So this is also a call for you to use your voice, your power, to draw attention to an enduring culture of rape. Together, we must end it now. My name is Aisha Sisay. I am Khadija Sako.
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 We are Khadija Sako.
We are all Khadija Sako.
Yes, this na term for all Salon people and then party them. Sisay-Jalloh Media will be bringing you a variety of programs ranging from documentaries to discussions, interviews, news, views, sports and entertainment. Our programs will contain matters on development, governance, the economy and issues that are of importance to Sierra Leone. So, no left BNO because we get Bebe program then like Salon discussion, meets the ministers, the president's hour and the Gladi program, Look Me, I Look You. All this they start soon na www.sisay-jalloh.org. Now who's Ntombi?
As we talk about burning issues ranging from politics to the economy, culture to sport, education to entertainment, corruption to the environment, we realize the Sierra Leone story is far from finished. So, Sisay-Jalloh Media Production brings you Zoom In. Zooming In is the program that engages everyday people, entrepreneurs, inventors, entertainers, activists, policymakers and politicians to discuss and debate issues relating to Sierra Leone. Zooming In digs deep into the issues and stories. Zooming In ensures the debate is pushed to another level. Zooming In asks those questions that has never been asked before. So, join us, host Chumaba.